This is my review of the Bleach Agent of the Shinigami arc, or Substitute Shinigami arc, or whatever the fuck it's called. Again, I couldn't find like exact what people prefer to name it, because as I was looking at like a list of arcs for Bleach, every list I find on the internet has like really dumbass names that I know no one uses, like Uh, the when we get the flashback for Aizen and stuff, I know that's called Turn of the Pendulum. And the fucking every list I look at calls it the past arc, and that's just not the name. So this one, everywhere I look, is called Agent of the Shinigami, but I'm pretty sure most people probably call it Substitute Shinigami arc. Um, but I don't know. Like for the fucking Soul Society, they split them too, and they have Soul Society the Sneak Entry arc, and then Soul Society the I think it's called the Conflict arc or something stupid. And then for Wakamundo, they have the Wakamundo this Sneak Entry arc, and I know no one's calling it that bullshit. So I don't know what the fuck this is gonna. I'm gonna call this either Shinigami arc or Agent of Shinigami, whatever the fuck. But that's what it is. Covering the first 70 chapters of Bleach and the first 20 episodes of the anime. I don't have a script because I'm not gonna watch 100 fucking of my own videos just to take notes on every little thing. I've seen this arc about what, 4 times now. I think for a starting arc, it's decent. Um, Certainly seen worse from a manga or anime. That was the first manga I've read, but from anime. You know, you get fighting about every episode to keep you entertained. Not quite every chapter. So that's fine. Ichigo's growth is a little sporadic for me. I like to see characters grow a little slower as far as strength. But Kubo did a pretty good job of, like, keeping in mind that Ichigo really doesn't know how to fight. And that he's not used to fighting hollows, and so he makes mistakes, he makes bad decisions, or he just outright doesn't fight well. And I think that was well done by him. Up until like Grand Fisher, I felt like Grand Fisher was where you start to see Ichigo being a little too um, strong, and then of course the anime tried to reconcile that by having Rukia and what's his fuck the filler Shinigami helping him out a bit. They prolonged the struggle a little bit more as well. But overall, I think he did a pretty good job up until, like I said, Grand Fisher shows up, and then obviously once the Minos Grande arrives and Ichigo blasts that away, you know already that he's just skyrocketing. And he pretty much does, and that's going to be an issue throughout the whole of the series, is Ichigo just being the anime protagonist that fucking is so goddamn overpowered that no one can compare to him. And honestly, power goes all over the place in that series anyways. um, the hollows were kept somewhat interesting. I mean, Kubo tries to make his enemies different and give them different abilities, and that's pretty difficult. It's really easy to give like really weak shit different powers, Because you're like, oh, well, they just fit into all of these constraints, and so this is the one thing they can do, and they can use their power this way and this way. And you kind of get more ways you can use it. But then when you give something like really strong powers, you really don't have any real flexibility with it, because essentially it's just, well, they can destroy a building if they hold out their hand and expend some energy, so that's what they do. So Kubo tries to be a little more creative early on here. He has some flexibility, like Grand Fisher having his hair, the Shrieker having like the leeches, and then it sends out a signal and makes them explode. The octopus controlling people with its seeds. They don't make for really interesting battles. Well, Grand Fisher's does. But like all these different weird abilities don't make for particularly interesting battles. But Hollows in general kind of don't. I mean, they just mostly bite. They mostly just have a big mouth and they're trying to eat shit, so they bite. There's not a lot you can really do with them. The Minos Grande with its Cero obviously goes a little further. That's since it's so much more powerful, now it has a big energy blast, and once you go big energy blast, there's no reason to go back to, well, this can control you, you know. So he kind of already shot himself in the foot with that. He did a good job trying to differentiate them, but then he introduced the Minos Grande, and it's like, well, there's no going back now. You've already done the energy blast. And we see that, because Ichigo diverts the Cero and sends a big energy slash into the Minos, and then he does a big energy slash at fucking Kisuke. And later on, he'll have a technique that is basically that. So Kubo did a good job trying to differentiate his powers. He went too far too fast. And he goes too far too fast the whole way. That's the story of Bleach, really. That he made everyone so fucking strong that then you're not sure how much stronger other people are, and you completely lose track of how strong anybody is. Because you can't. You've already lost track of their growth. They're already so unbelievably powerful, you can't imagine what they can do at the next level. It's an issue you would see in Dragon Ball, where like once people can blow up a planet, that's pretty much the last thing that you as a person can imagine. And so being told, oh, well, they can destroy a whole solar system, you know, you're like, well, what the fuck does that even look like? You can imagine a planet being vaporized, but you can't really imagine, like, a solar system exploding. You know, Bleach doesn't have, like, that, but you go from, like, Ichigo can slash a massive fissure into the ground to just Ichigo can, I don't know, he's fighting a dude who can cut a bunch of buildings down with one swing of a sword. He's fighting a dude who can throw a nuclear bomb in his hand. You know, it's like, what the he kind of already he can kind of already do that, can he? Yeah, so it's just weird. Him being able to fucking overpower Tessai and Kisuke is weird. I was just being told, oh wow, Ichigo has a lot of extra power, wow. So, Kubo just didn't do a good job as far as holding himself back and pulling at the reins and waiting to make his characters really powerful. As far as like the writing and stuff, I think it's pretty good. I mentioned in the Parakeet, it's a Parakeet, I think. The Parakeet storyline. That's a pretty dark story. I think it's a pretty well-written story. dude fucking killed his kid's mother and then killed him, but the kid, or he killed his mother, the kid grabbed his fucking foot and made him trip over the rail and he died, but then became hollow when he killed the kid and then started torturing the kid. I mean, that's pretty fucking sad shit. That's a decent story. He had other stuff like that. He, wrote stuff for Hime about her brother. He writes stuff about Tatsuki. He wrote for all the characters. And they all seem pretty three-dimensional, pretty emotionally rich. So I don't know why people say that Kubo doesn't write good. I don't think they've actually paid very much attention to Bleach, if that's what their opinion is. He also had a lot of humor. I can see why people think that Bleach is really edgy and shit, because the anime cuts out all of the humor, but the manga's full of fucking gags and shit that's really funny. Half of the fucking manga is fucking funny, and half of the manga was cut out of the fucking anime. And that just sucks. I guess I'll go into the fucking anime versus manga now. I think in total I had about 5 episodes of anime that I thought improved on what the manga had. And for the rest of it, it was just bad. Because I remember going from episode what? What is Grand Fisher? Is that episode 8 to 11 or something? Somewhere around there, the Grand Fisher shit, adapted 7 chapters of the fucking manga. And I lost my mind. Within 5 minutes, they had covered 4 fucking chapters worth of material. And I was like, holy shit. And I don't know much about the fucking production. From what I understand, I think Bleach started publication in 2001. And then the anime started in 2004. So I would imagine what that means is that the Soul Society was going on, Bleach was blowing up, and they decided to make the anime. And much like a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure shit, they're like, well, the Soul Society arc is really popular, but the beginning stuff really isn't, so we're just going to speed through that and get to the Soul Society. And the issue with that, as I've mentioned many times, is that you end up having to have filler and you catch up to the story too fucking fast. And then you have to make all this bullshit that people don't want to watch. And Bleach's filler is hardly the worst fucking filler out there. It's actually some of the better filler, but still. I don't know why a company would want to race to having to make new shit. That's just mind-boggling. Is it that hard to keep the show running for fucking... Could they not have stretched it to 30 episodes? I mean, Jesus Christ. And very rarely did they improve upon a scene. They improved some of the action scenes. I thought Ichigo reverting the Minos Grande's Hero looked really cool in the anime. A little bit of fight with Renji was done better. The Zangetsu scene was done really well in the anime, but you can just tell the difference today between the weekly fucking anime and then what was the seasonal anime today and then the weekly anime from Bleach's time, how different it was. They were fucking hurting on their goddamn production and shit. You could see it really badly when Renji's fighting Ichigo and you just see the fucking I think he's slashing like this and you see him taking a step with each slash and it just looked fucking awful. So not only were they speeding through the fucking story, but they were hurting on being able to fucking adapt it well. And for what's going to be an action-heavy series later, they really should have just added on to what already existed and stretched it out a little more. That being said, the anime wasn't all bad. Everyone knows Bleach's music is like second to none. It's fucking incredible. All of the synth that they have is just, it sounds fucking incredible. In particular, this like beginning section, but all of it throughout always sounds good. I think these are just some of the more iconic tunes. And then obviously the opening and the ending is great. Asterisk, and then I don't really like the first ending, but the second one's alright. The first ending is just that weird. It's like a woman's just singing really high pitched. She's speaking English at first, and then she starts singing Japanese. I don't know what the fuck that was about, but Asterisk is fantastic. It makes me feel so nostalgic when I listen to it. I just wish the anime would have done better at adapting it. Because I always thought the anime was good, and then reading the manga now, I just see how much shit wasn't there, and how much they rushed through the shit. It just is sad. Because Kubo's got a pretty good sense of humor. That scene when fucking Chad joins Orihime's friend chasing Koen is goddamn so fucking funny. I died when I fucking looked at that panel. I can't really get into like the fights as much as I want to because there wasn't a whole lot. Kisuke's fight with Ichigo is alright. Renji's fight with Ichigo is really the only one worth talking about. And I don't really have an opinion on it beyond it was cool. I guess Zabimaru is an example of a power that's like simplistic. You know, it's a segmented blade with like these, not really hooks, but talons, I guess I'd call them. And it can extend, and it can basically be used like a whip. I mean, that's a pretty cool ability. It doesn't do much of anything, so it allows for some flexibility in its use. I don't think we ever see him bind anyone with it, but that would have been a good way to use it. And obviously in the anime, when it rakes across Ichigo and he drags it, it looks fucking like it hurts really badly. And you compare that to something like Ryojin Jaka later on, which is just a big fire sword. And you can't really do anything with that. It's just fire, you know. But I don't think Kubo does a lot with Zabimaru. Like I said, he could have fucking bound someone with it, and he doesn't. He just kind of swings it around and cuts people. But, I mean, the fight was cool. It just the issue with a lot of Bleach fights is that they're just a couple hits. And I already kind of talked about it in the anime episodes, so yeah, can't really. I'll have more to say about the Soul Society fights. There's not a lot to say that I haven't said on that or on Grand Fisher, especially with how fucking many times I got interrupted trying to review this fucking first section. A lot of it is just left my mind. Anything I might have wanted to say, other than just talking about how bad I thought the production was on the anime. But of course, the art always looks good. Kubo's art's incredible. The anime's art always looks good. I definitely prefer the anime's look in a lot of places for the characters and stuff. Kubo's art can be off at times. I thought early Ichigo, I didn't like his hair. His hair looked kind of weird to me. But in the anime, it pretty much always looks the same. There was that scene where Orihime's running down the alley or whatever, and her face just looked really flat and weird. I didn't really notice that in the anime at all. Certainly, there'll be more detail or less detail depending on like the tone of the scene, but she still just looked like really flat in the face somehow. Yeah. Oh, I can talk about supporting characters. I think Kubo did a great job with his supporting cast. For as annoying as Keigo is, at least he's there and he's doing something. Mizuhiro always is like playing off of him a little bit. I guess you'd call Mizuhiro a straight man, even though at times he joins Keigo and acting goofy. Chad's his own kind of person, but he's a big, strong dude, and he's got interesting personality traits that help him to contrast with everybody. Uryu's obviously just serious. But Kubo has a lot of fun with Orihime, you can tell, because she's just so fucking weird with her fucking giant food that she'll be eating and shit, and she'll say something completely just off the cuff, out of fucking nowhere. She'll say the weirdest shit. But then he also tries to make her like the emotional core of the series and have her understand the pain of other characters and listen to them and understand them and all that shit. So he did a good job of like separating traits you would probably usually only see in the protagonist, because protagonist is usually like a universal good person, and Ichigo really isn't. He's just a delinquent that's kind of thrown into shit. If you look at Naruto, you know, he's the emotional core of his universe. He understands everyone. He makes friends with everyone and all that shit. Ichigo really doesn't do that, or Hime kind of does that more. Ichigo does kind of bring everyone to him and everyone likes him, but Kubo never writes Ichigo to like everybody. He doesn't try to go out and make friends. He just fights everyone. Orihime is the one that tends to people and understands them and stuff. And that obviously comes more to fruition in the Arankar stuff. But I think that's interesting. Rukia's sarcastic and smarmy and always says something in a smart-ass way. And Kubo does a very good job of giving his characters different personalities and keeping track of them and stuff. Each character stands out that has any important time, other than Mizuhiro. And that's why I don't understand why Mizuhiro got number 9 on the popularity poll, because he doesn't ever fucking do anything or say anything. I mean, he's a background character. And it's so weird to think that he got a 9th on the popularity poll. That's all I'm going to say on that. Hopefully I'll be able to do the Soul Society arc quicker, and I will have more of what I want to say fresh in my mind, because this has been like fucking 4 months. So yeah.